Taxi drivers of Reddit. Has someone actually jumped into your taxi and screamed, "Follow that car"? If yes, what happened? I'm actually a taxi driver, bike taxi pedicab. I was hanging out in the corner when a coworker of mine got right across the intersection. Suddenly, a guy walks up to me and tells me to follow that cab, but keep a distance. This guy looked current or ex-military. Demeanor, haircut, attitude. Has one of those earbuds like the agents from the Matrix. Exuded the vibe of being very professional/competent and not giving an F at the same time. I was born for this moment. I read all the Tom Clancy books as a kid, all the books about spycraft during World War II and the Cold War, every spy movie ever made, etc. I kept about 100-yard distance, and then I would accelerate when they went around a curve. Anytime they were near a light or intersection, I have all the lights memorized, to ensure that we would make the same light, but a little later than they did. At one point, a car pulls up alongside, and another guy switches places with the original guy, and we keep going. After about 12 blocks, the pedicab pulls over ahead of us, and the guy tells me to pull over, hands me $20 for a $12 ride. Although I would have done it for free just to live my 9-year-old fantasy. They were agents. You just helped catch Neo. Probably. Not entirely related, but I once had somebody jump into my car and it wasn't even a taxi. I was driving down the street in Boston and was stopped at a red light, minding my own business. Suddenly, my passenger door flung open and someone climbed in. Completely shocked, I didn't even have time to react. For some reason, it never entered my mind that I should be alarmed or concerned about this trespasser. So when I saw that it was an elderly lady, I just remained calm. Without skipping a beat, she said in a thick Russian accent, "You take me home, please." So I started driving. Apologies for a terrible accent. No, I am not an accent person. I asked where she lived, and she just said, "Keep going. I tell you when to stop." At that point, it dawned on me that she probably had dementia, and she likely thought I was someone she knew, or maybe even a taxi. Nope. After a few minutes of conversation, it was abundantly clear that this woman had picked the first car she saw, gotten in, and requested a ride. During the 10-minute car ride, she asked about my life. Isn't that nice? I was in college studying psychology at the time, and when I told her this, she said, "You make good psychologists. Very nice boy." He gave a ride to a complete stranger, so... It put a big smile on my face. My grandparents had all died either before I was born or during early childhood, so I don't ever think I had an elderly person say something like that to me. It felt nice. Finally, we reached an apartment building, and she told me to pull over. When I put the car in park, she turned to me and said, "Thank you for driving me today." I assured her it was no problem at all, and I wished her the best, and her parting words to me as she climbed out were, "Very good boy, good luck with studies." After pausing for a moment, I drove away and just kind of let it be. It was such a nonchalant and comfortable interaction that I resisted my temptation to immediately text friends and tell them what happened. It felt like that would have cheapened it or turned it into a novelty. It was just so natural, and I went with it. She's likely to be alive at this point. She's unlikely to be alive at this point, but I hope she enjoyed the rest of her days. Godspeed, Russian grandma I had for a day. By the way, I apologize for that previous terrible accent. Anyway, a friend of mine is a taxi driver, and this has happened to him. An elderly man rushed inside his taxi and pointed out loud to follow a red Toyota. This man never explains why to follow, just tries to frantically call to somewhere. My friend asked multiple times if they need to call police. The man just waved no and pointed to follow the car. They circle around the town, finally ending up in front of a house where the car parks. As the car stops, man says, "Hold on a moment, I'll pay," and jumps out of the car. An elderly lady steps out of the red Toyota, and the man, apparently her husband, starts to scream, "Why'd you left me at the mall?" Woman is waving her hand, screaming back, "What are you screaming about? You are here," and walks out inside the house like nothing has happened. Man returns and pays the drive, being sorry about it all at the same time. My friend thought we were following a burglar or something, but it turned out the lady just forgot her husband at the mall. Funny situation in a way, but sad in a way too, as my friend said. Dementia. Back when I was an actor, it says other stuff, but I'm just going to leave it as actor. I had a director threatened to recast me a week before the show if I was late to rehearsal again. To put that into perspective, recasting a major role after rehearsals have started is generally unheard of, and almost unthinkable so late in the rehearsal process. She was really fed up with me. On this particular day, I was running late as usual and had 5 minutes to get to rehearsal. It was a 10-minute walk or a 5-minute drive. I flagged the cab, hopped in, and said, "I need you to take me to this address, and if you can, I need you to step on it." The driver smiled wide and said, "I've always wanted to hear that." Cue him putting the pedal to the metal. Within 10 seconds, we were approaching 65 miles per hour on a 30-mile-per-hour street, weaving through traffic, flipping yellow lights too close for comfort, and generally whipping this cab around in an extraordinarily haphazard and irresponsible fashion. I was stunned, wide-eyed, in absolute shock and terror, unable to process that he quite literally heeded my request or this was actually happening. I thought I was going to die. It was the best cab ride of my life. I was 2 minutes early to rehearsal. You better have been nearly almost dying, you rebel you. I had to read this one. I once had a similar experience, except the situation was that I had missed my alarm and woke up about 15 minutes before the flight was boarding. Got a cab and told him I needed to be at the airport as fast as possible, and I would pay $50 in cash for the ride. That's about a $40 tip. I made the flight, but I was certain I was about to be in a horrible accident the whole drive there. Taxi drivers apparently do not fear death. No, they do not. Screw it, we're having fun. Let's go on with this thread. I had a ride like that on a visit to NYC at 2 a.m. after leaving a club. Driver floored it, weaved in and out of traffic, hit the curb, that's not how you spell curb, and drove up a footpath four-way, red lights, and generally squealed around corners. We had not asked him to step on it. Oh, Jesus. Maybe get us to the Helmsley 42nd Street could have sounded like, please scare the crap out of us and nearly kill us. Even my new NYC friend was in shock. I was in New Orleans once, and a cab I was in got sideswiped by a drunk driver. The drunk driver then took off. I told the cab to follow him, which he did. We ended up in a parking lot and watched them go into an apartment building. Cabbie had the station call the cops. I wrote a statement for the cabbie. He called me a new cab while he waited for the cops. I drove a taxi one summer at a party resort. One night, 2 guys jumped in and yelled, "Follow that car!" which was another taxi that I knew the driver of, and I obliged. Turns out, one of their mates was drunk AF, and decided to just go to their hotel without telling them. They only saw the guy leaving the club drunk, and they thought he was going to a strip club without them. He was actually going to their hotel as he was hammered. Another time, 3 girls jumped into the car and said, "Follow that car!" The car in question was a black sedan, tinted black windows. Yet, wasn't that shady, in my honest opinion. We followed the car for 15 minutes, leaving the resort, going into a forest. The girls started freaking out, so one of their friends, also a girl, was seen stepping into that car. Yeah, it turns out she had just hooked up with some guy in the club where they were earlier, and she was just about to, do some things when we pulled up next to them. Weirdest summer. They know what you did last summer. This sort of happened to me about 20 years ago. Not a taxi driver, although I was driving down a main road, saw a dude running around with a baseball bat, and then some cop cars parked on a side street. Young me decided that I wanted to get involved, so I pulled down the side street and found a cop on foot a good distance away from his car. I told him about the baseball bat guy, and he gets on his radio. I guess he got an immediate update from his radio, looks at how far he is from his car and says, he says, "Hey, can you drive me down the road?" I'm thinking, F yeah, and tell him to jump in. He does, and I am seriously driving around back roads with a cop riding shotgun and giving me directions while on his radio. Only lasted for about 2 minutes. Then he jumps out to pursue the guy on foot. Not a very satisfying ending to my story, since I never found out what happened. But well, there's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Somewhere there's a police officer retelling the story about jumping in a random civilian's car to go after a guy wielding a baseball bat. But after we caught the guy, I don't know what happened to that upsetting citizens. Alternatively, somewhere there's a baseball bat wielding lunatic retelling the story about being chased by a police officer riding in a random civilian's car. But after the police officer met Lucille here, I never did find that no good dirty snitch of a civilian.